Good evening. Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Monday Night Football, Week 14. We're going to be hanging out here for a little bit. We're going to go over my post-game notes, which are available on the fantasyfellowship.com. You guys can check those out, $8 a month there for members. Basically, we're going to go over the snaps, the routes, the rushing attempts, and kind of the touches and things like that, and kind of give you guys a breakdown of each game. I'm going to try and pick up the pace in these videos. And basically, we're just trying to look and see, like, what did we learn from this game and what notes of action to take from each game. So we're going to start with the Dallas Cowboys Detroit Lions Thursday night football game here. It was a good game. We saw a lot of offense in this one. We didn't really learn anything about the Cowboys. We did get a CeeDee Lamb injury, though. He left with a concussion. And I think Ryan Flournoy is going to be the guy that we're talking about on the waiver wire tomorrow night. He had 13 targets in this game, 9 catches, 26.5 fantasy points. He has completely hopped, Jalen Tolbert, Kevontae Turpin, all the other receivers on this team, and he's the clear third best player. So I'm assuming CeeDee Lamb's not going to play with a concussion in Week 15, so we'll talk about Flournoy. This is still Javonte Williams' backfield. Dak Prescott played fine enough for 18.5 fantasy points, and Ferguson's still holding it down. So didn't really learn anything from the Cowboys, but Ryan Flournoy, I guess we learned he's a person of interest on that team, so he should be added tomorrow. The Lions, Jahmyr Gibbs is really good. We didn't really learn that. We already knew that. And David Montgomery continues to look good and score touchdowns. Amon-Ra played through his ankle injury. Jameson Williams looked good on a lot of his targets as well. Still no tight end to be of note here for the Detroit Lions. And then Isaac TeSlaa continues to just catch touchdowns. So didn't really learn anything from the Lions either. Just the Lions still got that punch in them. They have a lot of good games left on their schedule. They got to get the Rams next weekend. I think they get the Chicago Bears Week 18. The Lions are still fighting for that. I don't think they're going to win the NFC North, but I think they can maybe outbear the Chicago Bears for that final wild card spot. So didn't really learn anything from the Lions. But TeSlaa starting to make some run here as the number 3 receiver. I'd like to see him get more involved and consistent other than just the red zone and the touchdowns. All right, what did we learn about the Seattle Seahawks? They destroyed the Atlanta Falcons in this one. We finally saw Rashid Shaheed do something of note. He gets 5 targets, 4 catches, 10.5 fantasy points. And then if you get the special teams touchdown, he would have 16.5 fantasy points for you. So I'm starting to come around to Rashid Shaheed. This was kind of the game that I was looking for, something that would get him going as a Seahawk. And maybe this is it. So he's still kind of operating as the number 3 receiver, but I think he's more of the number 2 in terms of targets and pecking order and things like that. So I like Rashid Shaheed. Didn't really learn anything about Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. It's still slightly in Kenneth Walker's favor. Didn't really have any breakout game. They destroyed the Falcons, but it was all through the air with JSN and the touchdowns to Cooper Kupp, Rashid Shaheed with the return touchdown. AJ Barner continues to hold down the tight end one role for them, but for fantasy, I guess we didn't really learn anything. The Seahawks continue to find ways to win with defense and special teams, and just another huge game from JSN. So Seahawks, man, they're one of the best teams in the league, and they find all kinds of different ways to win games. Atlanta, this is looking pretty grim. The season is probably over for the Atlanta Falcons. We have Kyle Pitts, looking good. He led the team with 9 targets, 6 catches on the day. He had over, I think it was 90 yards on the day. So he looked good. He's starting, I think he's like top 5 in like receptions, targets, and almost yards. He's lacking touchdowns. He only got 1 touchdown on the year. So Pitt's looking good. Bijan, Algier, they kind of split the workload, both under 10 PPR points. But this team's going nowhere fast. Like, I don't want to use Cousins for super flex. Hope they keep saying Drake London's day-to-day, but he's not practicing yet. So we'll hopefully get some good reports on him on Wednesday. Darnell Mooney's not usable here without Drake London, which is a bit of a bummer. Atlanta just kind of swirling down the drain here. So you're going to keep playing Bijan. I think you can keep playing Kyle Pitts, and then we'll watch Drake London. But Tyler Algier might be a league winner this season, because if this team continues to lose games, maybe Algier's the starting running back week 16, 17, something like that could happen. I don't know. Obviously, Bijan wants to play, but not having fun in Atlanta. All right, the Steelers. Gutsy win here for Aaron Rodgers, who had a nice fantasy day, over 21 fantasy points. It was Jaylen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell, both getting about 15, 16 fantasy points. Warren's going to continue to lead the team in carries, but it's very clear that they like Kenneth Gainwell as a receiving down back, and they're going to give him a few carries as well. So he looks good in that role. I think Warren's going to continue to be a running back 2 for me, whereas Gainwell is more of a top 30 RB3 flex play. Definitely like him in PPR a little bit more than a different format. So those two guys continue to be the engine for this team. But DK Metcalf, man, he has one of his best games. Doesn't score a touchdown, but he goes nuts with the yards, 7 catches, 12 targets. He had a little illness stomach thing after. I'm not quite sure. He went to the hospital after the game, but he checked out okay. So we'll watch for him this week. But other than that, Adam Thielen steps right in his first week with the team and runs the second most snaps, 11 routes, but it's clear that this is the path. He's going to be the number 2 receiver. I don't mind picking up Adam Thielen this week. I know it's fantasy playoffs in week 15. Probably not going to throw Adam Thielen out there, but if he has a good game on Monday Night Football against the Miami Dolphins, we might be interested in starting him week 16, 17. So keep an eye on Adam Thielen. I don't care about the other receivers here. And I want to care about a tight end here, but they just use 4 of them in different ways, and just none of them have been trustworthy for fantasy. So we didn't really learn anything about the Steelers. Just keep using the running backs, DK Metcalf, and then maybe consider adding Adam Thielen. The Baltimore Ravens, we continue to have this weird offense here with Lamar Jackson, but he finally gets it going a little bit. We have a nice Zay Flowers game, 20.5 fantasy points. He dominated with 11 targets, 8 catches. Isaiah Likely had a nice big play, 12.5 fantasy points down there. But Rashad Bateman continues to be useless. Mark Andrews continues to be super boom bust. And then Derrick Henry, good enough floor game, but if he gets 25 carries, we want more than 11 fantasy points. So that was a bit of a bummer. Keaton Mitchell provided the big plays here, but he ends up leaving with a knee injury. And then Rasheen Ali. So we're going to watch for Keaton Mitchell reports this week. If he's missing practices, I think Rasheen Ali might be worth a spot start. They get the Bengals this week, and he's going to be their third down receiving back and probably get 4 or 5 carries in this. So we'll keep an eye on Rasheen Ali. Didn't really learn much about the Ravens, but they got their backs against the wall now, losing the division lead against the Steelers. Cincinnati Bengals. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. They had this game from the beginning, and we get a couple Joe Burrow interceptions back to back, and we end up losing this game. Now, T. Higgins had a huge day, 11 targets to lead the team, 6 catches, 2 touchdowns, but he leaves with a concussion. He came back into the game, but today I saw the report where he is getting checked out for a concussion. He just recovered from one. So he might be out. I'm assuming he's out week 15. Don't plan on having T. Higgins this week. And there's a case that they might shut him down. I don't really quite know. I don't really like the idea of a guy playing, right away with the potential third concussion on the line. So we might be looking at T. Higgins out for an extended period of time, which would be great for Jamar Chase. You can maybe look into Andre Yoshivas, but Mike Gesicki is the one here who has provided a lot of life these last couple of weeks. 6 catches, 6 targets, and 20 fantasy points. He got a touchdown in this one. He looked really good. He looks fresh. So maybe Gesicki's who you're looking for. Chase Brown continues to look really good, and I'm going to keep playing Joe Burrow. So T. Higgins is the big one to watch. But other than that, I think the season's over. They really needed this win. But who knows? Anything can happen. They got to win out, but backs against the wall here. What did we learn from Buffalo? I mean, Josh Allen's still really good at football, and we just got this weird group of receivers here that I don't really have any trust in. Khalil Shakir catches you a touchdown, but he only gets 2 catches on the day. I don't really want to use Gabe Davis or Terrell Shavers or Keon Coleman. None of these receivers are really doing it for me, but the tight ends were the big deal in this game. Dawson Knox with 6 catches on 7 targets, 15.3 fantasy points. Dalton Kincaid comes back, gets a touchdown on 4 catches and 5 targets. The tight end is kind of the linchpin for this entire offense to get going because they've been struggling with that Kincaid, and he comes back in. He runs 19 routes. He's never going to be a huge snap guy because he's not a great blocker. That's what they use Dawson Knox and Jackson Hawes for. But you got to like what you see here from the tight end production. That's over 35 fantasy points at the tight end room here in Buffalo. So didn't really learn anything about Buffalo. Josh Allen, James Cook are still going to be in my lineup. I think Dalton Kincaid's going to stay in lineups where I have him. But I don't really like starting a Buffalo receiver right now. It's kind of scary. Tennessee Titans, what did we learn here? Tony Pollard took over this game. He won them the game with that 65-yard touchdown. I think a 35-yard touchdown run, a season-high 25 rushing attempts for him, season-high 28 fantasy points. That was a fantastic performance by Tony Pollard. He put Tajay Spears kind of in the back seat in this one. And then I guess Chimere DK continues to progress and he's starting to build some consistency here. He's still a deep wide receiver 3 flex. The tight ends are nothing to be looking at here. So it's pretty much, I'm going to have Pollard ranked as a running back 2, Spears as a running back 3 this week. And then I think I'm going to put DK as a wide receiver 3 flex. Still can't trust Cam Ward in super flex leagues, but starting to play better football over in Tennessee, which is what you want to see. Cleveland Browns, Shedeur Sanders. Despite losing this game, he has one of the best fantasy days of all quarterbacks. I think he was QB2 on the day behind Josh Allen with all his touchdowns and his passing yards here. Jerry Jeudy catches the bomb. Harold Fannin Jr., breakout game here, 25 fantasy points, 8 catches. Just a lot of big chunk plays to Harold Fannin Jr. But nothing else really was happening. It was Fannin and Jeudy making the big plays. Cedric Tillman got hurt. The other receivers are just kind of junk. We saw David Njoku get hurt in this one and leave. Dylan Sampson, had 4 catches on 4 targets and made some noise there. And then Quinshon Judkins had a huge 58-yard catch in this one. He had 14 carries, but he didn't get anything with those carries. So I'm not quite sure what to do with my Cleveland Browns going forward. I'm going to keep plugging away with Quinshon Judkins. I think Harold Fannin's a must start at this point. He's starting to really come alive with Sanders and now the Njoku injury. And then I'll probably have Shedeur ranked as a top 25 QB for Superflex leagues. But man, signs of life at least. They lose though to the Titans at home. You can't be doing that. We're going to pour one out for the Colts because this one looks cooked. Riley Leonard comes in for Daniel Jones, who tears his Achilles. Jonathan Taylor manages to get 21 carries, 11 fantasy points as his floor. So there's still hope for him to be a guy that gets, 20 plus touches and 10 to 15 fantasy points as his floor with that opportunity for a touchdown. But I did see Riley Leonard's going to be questionable now. Not quite sure if he's going to be ready to go. But Michael Pittman Jr. looked fine. 12 targets, 9 catches, almost 17 fantasy points. Alec Pierce had a couple big plays. Tyler Warren kind of faded in this one. I don't know if I'm going to have him ranked in the top 10 of my tight ends this weekend. So a lot to learn here. I really don't know what to think of the Colts, but this does not look good. I'm starting Jonathan Taylor, but I think everything else is kind of suspect at this point. So we'll get some more practice reports later in the week. I'll probably play Michael Pittman Jr., but I do think Tyler Warren might be, if I have a better option, I might be looking elsewhere than Tyler Warren this week. All right, the Jacksonville Jaguars improved to 9-4. What did we learn here? Bashal Tutin fumbled in this one. He gets benched, and you just see Etienne take over this game. Travis Etienne, 21 fantasy points, 20 touches. LaQuint Allen even got some extra snaps in this one. So not sure what's going on with Tutin. Probably not a guy we're starting in our lineups next weekend against the Jets, although maybe they give him a goal line touchdown and some opportunity to work in the second half. I'd like to see him bounce back. Brian Thomas Jr., 6 targets, 3 catches, a huge, awesome one-handed grab down the sideline. I'll tell you what, Trevor Lawrence, this was his best game as a Jag this season. Just on point. I know he was 18 of 30 with his throws, but he had some absolute dimes and some bullets out there. Jacoby Myers continues to look good. Tim Patrick had a day. So Trevor Lawrence supports 3 fantasy wide receivers. Bretton Strange kind of fell down this week with 5.5 points. But just a nice day for Jacksonville at home in the rain. We got to start taking them seriously. The Jags are a AFC threat, at least. I don't think they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but they could be in the conference championship game, perhaps. We'll see. Commanders will be quick. Jaden Daniels gets hurt. I think they should shelf him for the rest of the year. We also saw Zach Ertz tear his ACL, so we have that to watch and see who's going to be the tight end. I think it's John Bates is the guy that they have been using the most with snaps and routes. But it might be finally time to see Ben Sinnott get some work here as the season goes down. Terry McLaurin and Deebo Samuel, if it is Mariota, these guys will still be ranked as like wide receiver 2-3s for me. But this season is just completely lost. The running backs continue to split. Chris Rodriguez leads the way with 10 carries. He's just not involved as a receiver. Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt gets 7 carries, but we don't really want to be starting Commanders in the fantasy playoffs right now. You can make the case for Terry and Deebo, but other than that, I'm probably not going to be messing with the Commanders. And then the Vikings, after 2 embarrassing weeks here, they show some life. We get J.J. McCarthy tossing touchdowns. We got Jordan Mason getting 11 carries and a touchdown. Aaron Jones getting 14 carries and not leaving this game with an injury. But Justin Jefferson, we can't have everything good for the Vikings. Justin Jefferson, only 2 catches, 3.1 fantasy points. It was Jordan Addison. It was Josh Oliver with 2 catches for 2 touchdowns, and then TJ Hawkinson with the other touchdown here. So 3 tight end touchdowns from JJ McCarthy. Just a sigh of relief and some fresh air here for the Vikings, as basically they're just looking at this final month of football to see what can JJ McCarthy do well. The reports were they dumbed down the offense this week and got him going. They used the tight ends a lot here. You can see the 5 catches and the 3 touchdowns to the tight end spot. Just a good game here all the way around. And there's still a lot to improve, but this is what you wanted to see after 2 of the worst games of the year from the Vikings the last couple weeks. So didn't really learn anything here, but I'm going to continue to be interested in starting my Vikings. They get the Cowboys next week, so maybe we see them put up some more fantasy goodness. We'll see. What did we learn about the Dolphins? Devon Achane's got a rib injury, so we're going to be watching that. They said he could have came back. This game wasn't close from the start, so I kind of believe him there. But it's Jalen Wright who took over as the RB2 here, and this was kind of the thought we had early in August. Then he gets hurt. Ollie Gordon comes in, and we all were drafting Ollie Gordon late. But Jalen Wright's here, 24 rushing attempts. Is that correct? I believe he ran for a touchdown. I believe Achane got a touchdown and Ollie got a touchdown. But if this is the pecking order here, we got to dump Ollie Gordon and go get Jalen Wright. So he'll be on the waiver wire tomorrow. Jalen Waddle gets a touchdown, 5 catches in this one. The tight ends, I'm not going to bother with Darren Waller anymore. He just doesn't. This offense is not where you want to be for fantasy besides Devon Achane. Jalen Waddle, yeah, but for the tight end usage here, they just don't use a tight end enough for me to care about. They use Greg Dulcich more than Darren Waller, so it's pretty much just Achane, Waddle, and let's pick up Jalen Wright. He looks like the guy that could maybe help us down the stretch. Alrighty, New York Jets. This is embarrassing. I don't even want to talk about the Jets. I know Justin Fields was injured with a knee injury, but what are we doing here? This is a complete waste of our time. A complete waste of our time. So what did we learn? We learned nothing. The Jets are the Jets. Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie could still be useful, but at this point, I don't want to start a Jet. It's week 15, fantasy football playoffs. You can maybe start Breece Hall, but at this point, why risk it if you have better options? I think I'm starting Kenneth Gainwell probably over Breece Hall, honestly. New Orleans Saints, what a big game here from Tyler Shuck with the rushing touchdowns. Devin Neal gets a rushing touchdown. Those are really the only 2 guys that played well in this game. Chris Olave, only 3 catches for 6 points. Devon Vele, 3 catches for 7 points. Juwan Johnson gets you an 8-point floor. Didn't really learn anything in this game. Can we just stop with the Taysom Hill, though? I've been asking for that for a while. But Devin Neal continues to hold his own and be a low-end RB2. As long as Kamara's out, we're going to keep using Devin Neal, keep plugging away with Chris Olave. And then Tyler Shuck, man, he's got a little bit of Ryan Tannehill in him, a little bit of Davis Mills. I don't know what it is. He's not great, but I think he's going to get another year in 2026 as the starter. Maybe they draft a guy and see what can happen. But I think for now, the Saints are plucky with Shuck. Tampa Bay, what did we learn here? I mean, it's the Bucky Irving show still, but 15 carries for Irving, 11 for White, 7 for Tucker. Tucker does get a goal line touchdown in this one. Bucky caught his touchdown. So but a little bit of a frustration spot here as they're going to continue to use all 3 running backs. But I'm still going to have Bucky as a low-end RB1 this week against the Falcons. And then Tucker and White are just, low-end RB3s. I do think they can beat the Falcons by a good amount, and we see some garbage time for these 2. But going forward, keep playing Bucky. Consider these guys in deeper leagues. But we got to talk about Emeka Egbuka for a little bit here. He has just been kind of fallen off the map. He gets 10 targets, but only 2 catches on the day here. I'm wondering if Mike Evans' presence will maybe help him in his stat column a little bit, but at this point, he's not necessarily a must-start player. So we'll watch for him, but he's going to be a wide receiver 3 flex rank for me. I'm playing Chris Godwin over Egbuka right now, and I don't really care about Cade Otton or the other receivers here, but we'll see if Mike Evans plays on Thursday Night Football. Alrighty, Denver Broncos. We didn't really learn anything here. The RJ Harvey stuff continues to look good. 17 rushing attempts, 6 receptions. Like, this is what we wanted all along here, and we're starting to get that from Sean Payton. This was RJ Harvey's best game from a usage standpoint. So nice win for RJ Harvey as we head into the fantasy playoffs. But the receivers, Pat Bryant's wide receiver 2, Troy Franklin, wide receiver 5 now. Like, he was the steady Eddie wide receiver 2 all year. And, through November, we were ranking Troy Franklin ahead of Courtland Sutton. So now the pendulum kind of swings back to Sutton being the clear number 1 in targets and receptions and just usage. Franklin all the way down here to the fewest receiver snaps. He did run 17 routes, which was third most on the team. But it appears they really like the blocking aspect of Humphrey and Bryant. Pat Bryant continues to look good. He's a dynasty guy that I think could be exciting in 2026. So for now, I'm all the way out on Troy Franklin. I think he's droppable heading into the fantasy playoffs. I don't want Evan Ingram on my team. Look for another tight end. At this point, it's Harvey, it's Sutton. You can add Pat Bryant and see what happens there. I'm not going to say to start Pat Bryant yet, but the Broncos continue to fiddle with things, but it looks like Pat Bryant is rising. Raiders, I don't even want to talk about the Raiders. Keep starting Brock, keep starting Genty. Everything else looks like a joke. Kenny Pickett probably starting next week for the injured Geno Smith. So if you need super flex help, Pickett's there. LA Rams, Blake Corum, my goodness, 12 carries, 26 fantasy points. Looking like a really good year 2 running back. Kieran continues to play well too, though. So they got this fun little 1-2 punch, 25 carries between the two of them, over 40 fantasy points between the two of them. And then Ronnie Rivers gets 8 carries at the end of this absolute blowout here. It was the Puka Nacua breakout game. And we haven't had a Puka Nacua game like this in a while. 2 touchdowns, 35 fantasy points. So it was really good to see. This is the Devontae floor game. When he doesn't catch a touchdown, you're getting 7 points. And then Colby Parkinson at tight end. Davis Allen was out there for more snaps. Parkinson's the route guy for this team, and he gets a touchdown, 12 fantasy points in this one. But going forward, this Rams team, man, they're the best team in football, I think, right now. You're starting Stafford every week. You're starting Kieran. I think Blake Corum could be a, kind of like a low-end RB2, like a high RB3. And yeah, you're starting Puka, Devontae, and then, I would rather start Colby Parkinson right now than Evan Ingram if you're playing that game. Arizona Cardinals, we don't need to talk much about them. You're still starting Trey McBride. Jacoby Brissett in Superflex looks good. I know they're getting the Texans this week, but if Marvin Harrison Jr. cannot play, Michael Wilson is a league winner. 16 targets, 11 catches, 37 fantasy points. So if you're lucky enough to have Michael Wilson, we're praying for no Marvin Harrison because it's going to muddy the waters when he comes back. So he's got a heel thing. We'll watch for that on Wednesday. But this Cardinals team, fun for fantasy. The running backs, though, we might not see Trey Benson the rest of the way. So I don't know. It's Brissett, it's Wilson, and it's McBride. And then we have our Chicago Bears. No Rome Odunze in this one. DJ Moore is droppable in a redraft league right now. What's the purpose of starting him in fantasy when this is what happens when he gets the opportunity to be the lead dog? 0.6 points. Olamide Zaccheaus gets a touchdown. Luther Burden, 4 catches for 11 fantasy points. The tight ends made some plays in this one. Colston Loveland continues to look good. The running backs both racked up a lot of touches here. So no Rome Odunze. He might be out another week or two. And at this point, I think Luther Burden's their best receiver. He might even be better than Rome Odunze. So I'm dropping DJ Moore this week. Assuming Odunze's out, I'm ranking Burden higher. You're going to keep starting Swift and Monangai. And then Loveland at this point, despite this ugly timeshare with Cole Kmet, Loveland is getting dialed up for some big plays, and he's a good player. He also had another big catch that almost happened. It was a weird catch fumble thing, so he could have had a bigger day. But Loveland looking like a potential top 5 dynasty tight end right now. Alrighty, the Packers. We get Jaden Reed back, and he comes back and looks good. 4 catches, 2 rushing attempts, 9 fantasy points. I think you're happy with that. And I think at this point, he's the wide receiver 3 flex. Christian Watson, he might just be a wide receiver 2 at this point. I might even rather have Christian Watson in my lineup than a guy like Jalen Waddle. Maybe even over Courtland Sutton. I think Watson's crashing my top 20 rest of season rankings, and Reed will be high as well. Romeo Doubs completely disappears. 2 targets, no catches. So we lose faith in him. My hierarchy for the Packers is I want Watson in my team if I have him, Reed, and then Doubs is kind of the third man here. Wicks and Golden should be dropped in redraft leagues for other players. We don't care about the Packers tight ends. They're going to use 3 guys, and it's just whatever. Josh Jacobs continues to look good. Jordan Love continues to look great. And then I'm going to just shout out Marshawn Lloyd. Might be playing week 15 against the Broncos. He's worth picking up in deeper formats and just seeing what happens over the next few weeks. And then we finish up here with the Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. What did we learn here? I forgot to put the points in for Stroud and Mahomes, who Mahomes had a terrible game. But Stroud playing like a super flex QB2. This was the Woody Marks game here with Nick Chubb getting hurt. 26 carries, 15.5 fantasy points. Woody Marks is going to be a strong RB2 the rest of the way. The way this defense is playing, yeah, I want Woody Marks in my lineups. Nico Collins continues to play like a top 5, top 10 fantasy receiver. And Jaden Higgins, man, it took him so long to get there, but I think he's starting to be trustworthy in a 6-point floor. But big days are coming. The Texans, I think they get the Cardinals this weekend. So I want Higgins in my lineup as a flex. And then Dalton Schultz continues to be a low-end, tight end option. But just the Texans that's the one team I think nobody wants to see in the playoffs, and it looks like they're headed there. So we'll see what happens. But the Chiefs, it's on fire. The Chiefs are on fire right now. It's stale. I don't know what it is. We got an old roster here, and it's just not happening, man. They're losing a lot of games, and they're not really getting explosive plays. I think going forward, you're going to keep playing Mahomes and Rashee Rice. I think Xavier Worthy, he's in the wide receiver 3 flex territory. Keep playing Kelsey if you have him. I expect him to bounce back. This was a really bad game from him, but he'll be better next week. They get the Chargers next week, so that's literally their last chance to make a mark here on the season. But we're unfortunately learning that the Chiefs are in trouble. Kareem Hunt leads the way with 12 carries, 9 fantasy points. Isaiah Pacheco continues to just be the number 2 guy here. So at this point, I'm really only starting Rice, Mahomes. I'll consider Kelsey. But the rest of it, man, it's just not there this year. And I think going forward, we're going to need to see Andy Reid evolve because they've kind of been on this path here of just trying veterans at receiver, at the offensive line. They need to get creative here and kind of reinvent this Mahomes. Mahomes is still in his prime, but we're now into that prime and back end window of his career here where they're going to need to change some things. So we'll watch for that. But either way, thank you for hanging out with me on this Monday evening. We'll be back tomorrow night, Tuesday, for the Waiver Wire show at 7 p.m. Central Time. So join me for that. Enjoy the game tonight. We got a little fun one here. AFC versus NFC, Eagles and the Chargers. I'm saying go Chargers in this one, but we'll see what happens. And again, thank you guys. Check out thefantasyfellowship.com. We'll see you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Central Time. Peace.